Okay, so the model's been painted now, and I've also applied a coat of gloss to it. You see I've removed some of the masking from things like the wheelbase and stuff. So there's some detail painting that needs to be done yet, but what I want to do first is give the model a weathering wash, just to start toning the colours back a bit and highlighting panel detail and stuff. Now, a lot of people prefer to do this after the decals are on. I do it the other way round because the kind of washes I use, they can build up against the edge of a decal and give you an outline to the decal and stuff like that, and never clean away completely. So I prefer to do my wash at an earlier stage, and then I can weather the decals in afterwards using the wash and some spot applications of it. So that's the reason I prefer a wash before I put the decals on my model. So this is a kind of medium sort of greyish scheme. So I want a slightly darker wash for this. So what I'm going to use is it's going to be a mixture of Payne's Grey. So it's going to be a mixture of Winsor & Newton Payne's Grey and some pale grey or white. In this instance I'll be using the Abteilung faded grey colour. So what I'm going to do is, quite often with oil paints, if you leave them for a while, you get a build-up at the top of the tube of just the oil without any pigment. So I like to just give it a quick wipe over to remove that little bit of excess oil. And then it's just a case of squeezing a little bit into the pot. And a little bit of the grey, so you can see that's those two colours. So we'll mix that with some normal enamel thinner. Give it a good mix around and see what colour we come up with. I have to say, almost immediately, I'm pretty happy with that colour that I've come up with. As you can see, it's kind of a medium, slightly on the dark side of medium grey, which I like. Now, I'm never too. A lot of people apply pin washes, which involves being very carefully going around the model and applying it only to panel detail. I'm a bit more forgiving than that, and I will generally brush it on and around all panel detail and let it find itself. The excess can be removed, being as it's oil paint. It doesn't dry particularly quickly. I mean, effectively I could leave this overnight really and come back to it tomorrow and start dealing with the excess, but it's just letting it flow in and along all the detail. I mean, really, you can apply it like that if you want, just you know, a fairly general sort of scrubbing it into the surfaces. Most of all the excess will be removed, so it's really no big deal. This is where one of the little issues, if you like, with this kinetic fear comes up in that some of the detail is really quite is not particularly well defined, so my oil paint will maybe not settle into it as well as it might, although it seems to be doing okay so far. So So as you can see, I've just basically applied that all over the underside of the model. Let's move along to the nose part here. So there's no huge secrets to this. It's just a case of applying it. As you can see, it's taken me seconds to do a wing here. I'm actually quite liking that mixture, that paint mixture as well. It's a very subtle change in shade. I've been as guilty as anybody in the past of using washes that are far too dark, really. So nowadays I try at least and tailor the wash a bit more to the scheme I'm doing. So this has been painted with Tamiya acrylics, and the actual gloss coat I used was Mr. Colour, which is one of their super clears, which goes over the Tamiya acrylic no problem at all. It doesn't blister it or cause any problems with that finish. So and this is the major benefit, I think, of tailoring any scheme, any oil colour to the scheme you're doing, is that I've got really quite a subtle panel detail effect here. I'm just trying to avoid getting any into the air intake bells, the shock cones and stuff like that, where it will be difficult to clean out, but other than that, and that is our base wash applied in a very few seconds. So we're essentially just checking over for any areas where it's missed. There's a little bit in there that I want to go back over. That's essentially it. We can put that to one side to let that dry. I'm just going to check a couple of the minor details here, the tank. Centerline pylon somewhere. There's a centerline pylon, so just stick that out of the way. And then we've got little bits here, like the wheels. I haven't actually painted the rubber of the wheels yet, but I can add a little bit of a wash into the hubs to see what we get. And that's it. So what we'll do is we'll be letting this dry for an hour or two, and then we'll be looking at removing all the excess, and then hopefully we can start painting one or two of the little details, and then move on to applying the decals. So I will see you when we're ready to do that. Right, so we've given this a couple of hours now to dry off, and now it's a case of just removing the excess oil paint from the surface, and for this I just use ordinary kitchen towel. I use quite cheap stuff because it's got quite an abrasive edge to it, which is what we want, and then it's just a case of going over the entire model like so. You can see how you pick up the oil paint. He immediately pops off one of the flaps there, but not a problem. Oh, you're going up in fun. Okay. Alright, alright. Oh, the slightest problem with you. So that's all we're doing, just keep working over it. And hopefully you can see that we've got quite a subtle effect. Not too brash, not like black lines or anything like that. So it comes off very, very easily, especially due to the fact that we've got a good lacquer clear coat on there. So then it's just a case of keep going over the model. You'll also find, or I find generally, that this polishing, because of the slightly abrasive nature of the kitchen towel I'm using, it also acts to smooth the finish prior to the application of decals even more than it already was, which is never a bad thing. So that's all I'm going to do. Is work over the model like that. You'll get some stuff building up like in corners like here, and in and around stuff like small air intakes and stuff and vents. Just use a cotton bud and you can work it along those little corners and remove the excess. Some people use these for the whole thing, and you can see it does. Clearly, it works just fine. But as a tool, I just find that the kitchen towel works better for me. So you know, you can go quite firm with how hard you're polishing the surface. It also allows you to check, because sometimes you'll find areas where it hasn't, the panel details are a little bit light or something like that, and that can actually give you a chance just to eke out that panel detail, apply another coat of the wash, and it helps to improve those areas where otherwise you might have panel detail fading in and out on the model, which can look a little bit obtrusive. But even in that 5 or 10 minutes there that I've been doing that. Again, there's areas like in and around the shot cone here where sometimes it struggles. You'll struggle to get your tissue into. So I'm just going to go around things like these these intakes, and you're good to keep going back and doing this as you spot more and more areas, right up to the point where you actually varnish this in. Now a lot of people complain that oil paints take a long time to dry before you can continue. Now I've been using oil paints for well over 20 years, 25 years. I've been using them ever since I first read about them, more or less in Verlinden's publications in the mid-80s, is when I started using oils, when I was just still a teenager really, and I've been using them ever since, and I've tried all of the other enamels and sludge washes and all that kind of stuff, but I found that over the years I've always gone back to using oil paints, although my methods of using them has sort of changed over the years to a degree, but I still find it gives me the best finish that I want for my models. So that's basically that done. Okay, and so what's going to come next is I'm going to be doing adding things like there's a black, one or two black areas that need to go on, and then we're decal ready. So I'm just looking over and I can see one or two areas, like on this wing root here where there's a cable duct, and the area immediately behind the canards, that is quite easy to miss. I'm just going to check the other side. That appears to be okay. So let's just keep going over your model and checking these little areas, like these little intakes here. There's a little bit of a build up around there. Nothing too bad. But yeah, I'll glue this flap back into place, which is more or less just popping straight back in there like so, and then we'll look at adding some of the decals and moving on with the build. But so far pretty happy with what we've got here. So next time we'll get the decals out, and we'll start applying a few of the decals. So I'll catch up with you then.